Hey, 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 hey.
Good
Welcome
morning,
to,
everyone. Go
yeah, good
ahead,
morning.
Jamal.
No, I'm just going to say welcome to episode
100.
100. Can you even believe it? Whoop, whoop, wah, 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 wah.
That
Whatever that
means
sound is.
that Brian does. That means we are so far out from the well, 100 days or beyond, actually, from the
Hmm.
fires, because it will be what 120 days on the 8th, which is that next Tuesday?
Yeah, I believe
Oh,
so.
wow, already. So almost, let's see, January, February, March, April, May, June, almost 5 months out. So as you know, I am Tony Bailey Rains,
I,
and one of my co-hosts
I'm Jamal Smith. We
is
have
here
B
today.
on assignment right now, and he'll be probably maybe late, a little bit later, or maybe tomorrow. We're gonna get the information, but we have an action-packed episode today. We've been talking about it for a while. I'm gonna turn it over to Tony to do her thing, and we're gonna, move on with the show. So you guys enjoy, and please collaborate, participate. We really need this.
Absolutely, especially when we bring special guests on. And this guest today, who is our special guest, is Colonel Sonny Avichal from the Army Corps of Engineers. He is overseeing the debris removal. And so, welcome, Colonel Avichal. And I'm super excited that you're here with us today. I know that at the grand opening of Loma Alta Park is the last time that I saw you. And I kind of was like, you have to come on the show. So, super glad that you agreed to come on. So many people are wanting an update. And I specifically asked you to come on so that we can ask you for and you can provide an update to us today on the status of the debris removal and cleanup in Altadena. And there will be just a couple little questions that I have from people already. There may be others that choose to log in and, watch this and then ask. But super glad that you're here and want to get started. Do you want to say anything in particular as far as introducing yourself? Well, I will say this to anybody watching. If you see the uniform that the colonel has on in the middle, it looks like an eagle. That's what we in the military or veterans call a full bird. He is a full bird colonel, which is the next step would be a general, a one-star general, which means that Colonel Avichal has quite a bit of years and experience in the military and in doing what he is doing. And so, thank you. I know you are based directly out of, I believe you have about 30 years of service and you're based out of Norfolk. So, I'm so thankful for your time this morning. Tell us a little bit more about you and then what you're doing as far as Army Corps. I know you've served in Africa with Army Corps and some other places, if I'm not mistaken, and done some disaster recovery, and now you've landed with us. So, can you just give us a little bit of information on that?
Yeah. So, hi, and first, thanks for having me on the show. It's really awesome to be in a format like this because sometimes whenever I do updates or things like that, we can't really have a long conversation. It's just straight to the point. So this is really great, and it's a great podcast and a great thing that you're doing for the community. Also, congratulations on 100 episodes. That's a big deal. Feel honored to be on the 100th episode. So I'll just give actually a real quick update or just an overview of the Corps of Engineers, and I'll try and keep it short, but the Corps of Engineers, we're 40,000 people strong across the entire United States. We have about 42 offices in just about every major city throughout the country, but only about 700 of those 40,000 actually wear a uniform like I do. The other
Mm-hmm.
ones are, you may see them out and about. They have the red shirts and they wear the Army Corps castle. And so
Mm-hmm.
those are professional engineers, construction folks. We have biologists. We have attorneys. We have all sorts of different career fields to fill out our ranks. But again, so it is just a diverse organization that is habitually in the communities. And then when a disaster happens, we pull from around the entire enterprise and we converge on a certain location like we have here with the Los Angeles wildfires.
Okay.
So everybody that you see, not the uniform folks, we get orders, right? But everybody else, they're volunteers, right? So they volunteer to come out here and to help the community. So I'll just briefly talk about kind of where we're at right now in terms of just overall parcels is the term that we use, right? So that's essentially the plot of land, and we go through kind of county. We work at the county, and their like their assessor parcel numbers, APN is the term,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's like a plot of land, right? So on that plot of land, you may have a house and an ADU or something like that, and really, from our standpoint, we just see that as one parcel. So in terms of total parcels, where we've received a right of entry, so these are the folks
Mm-hmm.
that opted in. There's about uh, 5,715 total, right? And that's what we consider to be our workload. To date, we've cleared the fire ash debris. So this is when you have the excavator come essentially take a lot of folks with the foundations and the fire ash debris. We've removed the fire ash debris from 5,168. And that's
Wow.
at 6 a.m. this morning. So I think they always say don't do math in public. I think that's somewhere around 90%, a little bit more than 90% of that. But then we have what we call the finishing crew as well. So this is the folks that um, they remove the hazard trees, they do the hydromulch, they do just a final check on the property itself, and
Mm-hmm.
then there's a paperwork aspect where the right of entry goes back to the county. And
Okay.
so for properties that have gone through that final process, we're at 3,809.
Three
Right. So,
thousand 809.
yep. So somewhere around 65% or so of the total. Um, and so, from our standpoint, when we were brought here, and the reason why we came, or how FEMA essentially brought us here, was that removal, that fire ash debris is a health and safety issue. And so, we are well on our way. If you look out, you'll see a few less crews on the streets than you did at one point. A few weeks ago, we had 129 crews. As of today, we have 55 crews working. Right.
So
So
as more parcels get complete, you release crews so that there's not as many in the area.
exactly. And so now we get to the tough ones. And so you'll see us kind of really working hard, but the numbers aren't going to go up as fast as they were before, right? So
Okay.
these are parcels that may have had access issues, and instead of it taking a day and a half on the property, maybe it takes 4 days. So that this is where kind of like we'll start to slow down a lot, just because the parcels themselves, these are a little bit more challenging.
Okay. I have a question for you, and I know you said it, but when I saw you a few weeks ago at the park, it just really opened my mind because again, we hear structures, right? We hear, oh, there are 8,900 structures or whatever. That includes, I guess, commercial and residential. And you said to me, but the thing is, Tony, we don't count it, meaning the Army Corps, as structures because literally a house is a structure, a car is a structure, a garage is a structure, an ADU or back house. And so you all are looking at that one parcel from County Assessor Jeff Prong's office based on that AIN number. And if my house had a house or my lot had a house, a garage that 2 cars were in that we couldn't get out, and a back house, the county or the way the state or the county says that's 4 structures. But you look at that one parcel and it's your job to clear that parcel.
Exactly.
And so this number of 3,809 parcels that have been cleared to date is what you're looking at from that overall total.
Yeah. So again, cleared, and then the right of entry back to.
Oh, that's the right of entry back. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So cleared is
it 5168?
Yeah, yep, exactly. Yep.
Okay, is the cleared amount. I'm sorry, I'm writing this because in case somebody asks me, I want to make sure I have it instead of just going back to this video, which we can go back to at any
Yeah.
time. But that's good to know. So 5,168 have been cleared, but then 3,809 have the right of entry that has gone back to the county. Now, I have a question even in that. When you have done that, I believe there's 4 on each lot. There's like 4 check or sign offs or something. And let's say my lot, like I just said, had all this stuff, right? Let's say my house is down here, and then there's another hill, because you see how many hills we have in Altadena, right? Some lots are fully flat. Some have a detached garage that goes up the driveway a little bit, and it was in the back. And maybe there was an ADU up there as well. Well, let's say you cleared the house, you got the foundation out, and it might have been a tough foundation, might have taken 4 days instead of 2 or a day and a half. And you cleared the garage, or the garage was easier. You cleared that first, and you cleared the other house or the ADU or whatever. But they're not level, right? And there's craters now in the earth from where they had to, literally, there's nothing level. Is the Army Corps going to come back and level that out, or where the craters are now, where they dug down? Because I see on some lots as I drive around, they're completely flat. Like they graded it, and they put the hydromulch, but they graded it. Where others I've seen, and they're big like craters in the earth, and it's not flat. So will the Army Corps come back and make it flat?
Typically, no. We remove the foundation, and that's pretty much that's where our authority kind of stops at that point.
Okay.
On a case by case basis, we had certain crews that were just kind of back leveling it, but before you rebuild, for the most part, you're going to have to do some site work, no matter what your property condition is in. So. No, but we don't come back and try and level it and make it all flat, because the reality is that whenever your builder comes in, they're going to probably have to excavate as well, and pour a foundation and do all of those things, and they're going to have to do their own site work. So it's really and then it's interesting. The other one I get a lot of questions about is kind of driveways, and so driveways they're individual in that regard. We're not, per our kind of orders or mandate from FEMA. Driveways are considered flat work, and they're not within kind of the ash footprint. And so, we don't take out the driveway. We actually leave them in there. And so, and if they do break, while we're doing that, that's kind of incidental, and unfortunately, that's kind of part of the process. So whenever you do rebuild, a lot of folks actually will use that area. They will use that area to stage kind of their materials for the house rebuild, because it's a generally flat area, even though it's a little bit broken up, but it'll kind of protect it from having to sit in the dirt. And then, that's what folks would use that driveway for.
So the grading that has to happen, obviously, right? Excavating and grading, when a builder is ready to do that, if there are craters or whatever, they'll probably level it out. If they need to bring dirt in to level it or whatever, they'll do that as they are working to pour the new foundation. And if there was like a driveway, here's the house, and the driveway continues up, and the garage was detached back there, but someone decides with their builder they want to have an attached garage now, right? All of that, whatever that hump is, that dirt, they'll level it out and excavate, as the new home is being built based on the plans that are approved by the county and the permit that's given.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. And for just in home building in general, there's usually a decent portion of it that is, they have to get the site ready for whatever your new home is going to look like, right? So, for us to do it now, and then it'll be very different in the future based off of whatever your new plans are. It's just not something that's part of our job here.
Okay, no worries. Thank you so much, because I know that has been, and like I said, I've driven around and I've seen it, and that is a question. I know my mother had that question about whether it was going to be leveled. So last week and even yesterday, we did send out a link that people could ask on a Google form, a couple of questions. So I got two. One you just answered. The other one, and you mentioned this in the beginning, is the Army Corps managing all of the arborists assigned to the Altadena cleanup effort? And if so, how is it communicated and enforced for the tree removal contractor when trees are requested to remain? And when you called me this morning at 9 o'clock, I said that was one of the questions we were going to talk about, because there's been this issue with trees, right?
Yeah.
And you've seen even the burn stuff and what's not and what's growing back. And Altadena has amazing trees. Obviously, some of them are clearly dead, right, and needed to be removed. Others, not so much, or other people are like, okay, you said it's not dead, I want it to remain, and then they cut it down anyway. So how is that being communicated? How is that being managed? What can people do? Because they're calling a number saying, I want my tree to remain, but then they come and the tree is gone.
Yeah. So the way that the process works is, okay, so we're only going to take hazard trees, right? That's at the end of the day. And so hazard for us is defined by 3 criteria, right? So they have to be at least 6 inches in diameter at a height of 4 feet up from the ground. So just think about it. It's about at least this thick, about 4 feet high. And then so that's the thickness criteria. Then the second criteria is the height, right? So it's not tall enough so that if it were to fall, it would fall either, on your neighbor's, where your neighbor would be rebuilding, or on the right of entry, or I'm sorry, like in the road. So if it fell, it would actually cause some sort of harm. So that's kind of the second criteria. So you got the thickness, you have the height, and then the third one is really this, where the arborist comes into play, and they have to assess whether or not it will die within 5 years.
Okay.
And that's again, that's the criteria that our arborists go with. And then when they do see a tree that meets that criteria, they tag it with blue dots.
Blue dots.
A barcode at the bottom. And then there's orange tape that identifies the type of tree and various aspects to it. So that's the identification for it. Now,
I think one of the questions that is coming also is about these arborists, because someone posted like the Army Corps brought in 20 arborists in the last couple of weeks, and they're just going around chopping down trees. Where are you getting the arborists? How long have they been arborists? Are they fully certified? That kind of thing. Because I know for me, my heart was broken a few weeks ago, because on my family's lot, my parents' lot, we had 3 oak trees. One that was 100 years old, that was huge and beautiful. One that was 80, and then one in the front is probably around 40 that dropped from one of the other trees or whatever. But the one that was around 80 was clearly deceased, like clearly. Didn't have life or anything. The big one in the back that I was super excited, I was going up there taking pictures like every couple days, because it had so much greenery on it and regrowth. And then my mom told me a couple weeks ago, 3 or so weeks ago, that it had been cut down. I literally had to say, I got to get off the phone, because I was so angry, because it was growing again. And I guess the arborist told my mother that's called panic growth for an oak tree. These are oaks. And our big oaks they'll withstand fires, they'll come back. And to me, it didn't look like it's going to be dead in 5 years, because I had all this greenery all over. I know where they said, well, one limb is real big and hanging over and needs to be cut or whatever. And I could see that, but they apparently, and I haven't been back since, because I probably can't handle it for a minute, but they're gone. And so where are you getting these arborists? What is their certification? Because a lot of people feel like they are literally just saying, oh, it's going to die in 2 to 5 years, and cutting trees down, where people are really upset.
Yep. So our arborists are all certified. It's bottom line. They couldn't be on the program if they weren't certified. And so if you do, what I say is that what an arborist, so there's separation there between an arborist and their recommendation. There's no incentive for them to mark trees. There's separation there. They're not getting any sort of commission or anything like that based off how many trees they cut. That is 100% false. So So, and then it's, I like to say it's our assessment, but it isn't. The homeowner has the final say. And so if I were to say, hey, if I were an arborist and were to identify a tree as a hazard, and you said, hey, I want to, let's see if we can let this thing, I don't want you to cut it down, then you should submit a tree waiver, right? And if you submit that tree waiver, then we're definitely not going to cut down the tree.
Okay.
Now, I will say, there has been a few instances of some miscommunication where it has happened. And if that's the case, you just need to call our hotline, explain the situation, and then we'll refer it back to our contractor, and they'll try and remedy whatever that may be.
Okay.
Because
that may be kind of hard, because so many trees in Altadena are old, right? 40, 80, 100, whatever. If they cut down a tree and it was a miscommunication, they can't remedy that. I mean, even if somebody puts a claim in, but to bring another mature tree back in, they're not going to find another 80-year-old tree or whatever. They might be able to say, okay, when you're ready to landscape, we'll pay to get another mature tree in, but it won't be that mature, right? So I don't know that it could fully be remedied, but I get it. If the contractor did something wrong, there is a process for some type of remediation, is what I understand that to be.
Yep, exactly. And again, and then before anybody cuts down a tree, you should get multiple forms of communication. So it'll be a text message, it'll be a phone call, it'll be, sometimes they do FaceTime, sometimes they're sending pictures. I tend to anytime, there should definitely be a lot of communication with the homeowner. But again, at the end of the day, it's the homeowner's choice. I can't say that enough, right? Arborists may have a recommendation, but it's the homeowner that has the final say.
Okay.
About whether or not a tree stays or goes on that property. And we have no incentive to take more trees. I'll say that like till I'm blue in the face. There's no incentive for us to do that.
All right. I know I have another couple questions. There's a couple that people have put in the chat that I'll pop up on the screen and we can discuss them. One has a little bit been addressed, but we'll still go over that. And then I know personally I have a couple of questions that have been posed to me from people outside regarding commercial and regarding things like townhouses or condos, which we talked about this morning before the show, and we'll discuss those. But first we have, thank you. This one that says, given the distance between structures and parcels, how many actual parcels were destroyed in Altadena, residential and commercial? So do you have that data or that information of the total residential versus commercial?
I think, so I don't know the commercial numbers. That was never really part of our initial scope. I can talk about residential numbers. I think total is around 6,200.
Okay.
And then in terms of those that have opted into the program, about 5,750 or so.
Okay. All right.
And then opted out is around a little over 500.
Okay. All right. And then I know commercial. So the numbers that I have heard, and again, structures versus parcels, right?
Yeah.
Was a total of 9,800 in Altadena. That included the 62 or 64. So you're saying 62 residential. And I guess the balance of that would have been commercial, because we've got, schools, churches, buildings, banks, post office, grocery stores, all of that. So that's good to hear. Right around 6,200 from you on the parcel side. And again, you're going by parcels. I believe this 9,800 was including all structures, which again, we know even includes cars. They counted those as structures. Of that 500 that you're talking about, I think it's important to note or discuss that, because we know that there's a new deadline, which was June 1st, to have in the form, I guess, for the commercial that you guys may go and take out. No, not that. I'm sorry. That people have to go now by the 30th of this month and remove whatever they opted out and chose not to have you all remove. And that deadline was June 1st. And so if they don't do that, then the county potentially could have you all remove it when they have all those numbers, and then send the bill to the homeowner. If the homeowner does not, of these 500, pay it, they could put a lien on their property. And we know that's county, and you wouldn't do necessarily that. But even with that, these 500 that have opted out, June 30th is their deadline to have that removed through a private contractor who has to have the correct permits, be able to take it to the correct site for debris removal and all of that. So let's say 200 get it done and 300 don't, right? And the county says, okay, cool. Now we're sending this over to Colonel Sonny's team, and they will now take on that. What does, in your estimation, from June 30th, what do you think would be a reasonable timeline for you to say, you would start on those or may have those cleared? Would that be like August or September, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so actually you could probably take my job. You explained that really well. That was pretty awesome. Yeah, so that out of that 500, right? So there's abatement notices going on right now from the county, right? So they had to have their permit for fire debris removal by June 1st. If they haven't, then they probably received some sort of a summons or some sort of notification from the county already, saying, hey, you need to have this permit. And then you're right, 30 June is the date when they have to have it completed. And then the county has a deadline to essentially all of the eligible parcels that we are going to do as the Corps of Engineers. We have to have those rights of entry by 15 July.
Okay, good. That's good to know.
And so from that, we will look, and maybe it's 100, maybe it's 200, maybe it's 300. We don't know that number right now. I'm sure, we have discussions with the county every few days. So we get a little bit of information as they're going through making all their contacts. And then you're right. So sometime after July 15th, it'll take probably a few weeks to get those remaining parcels completed.
Okay. So from the county to the ACOE, that deadline is the 15th of July. So that's why it's so important. We continuously say on here every day, like, hey, this is the new deadline. We've been doing it from the beginning about everything, right? So the deadline for those to be in was June 1st for the permits. Was June 1st. Now they have until the 30th to complete them. I do have a question for you. And I think someone recently, I saw this posted on our Altadena or Beautiful Altadena Facebook page, and I think they were referred over to you. But there may be some special cases. Like there are, I don't know if you are aware of the actual, percentage or number, but it is said that Altadena has 57% of its residents are over the age of 60 because we are a legacy community, right? And I know you've run into stories about that. We know people that are women that are 98. We know, elderly that are in their 80s and, 70s and things. I just heard the other day, there's a lady who is bedridden, and she's an elderly woman who's not like computer savvy, didn't know about any of the deadlines. And they just found out, a neighbor the other day, that she didn't opt in or out because she didn't know about it. I guess she doesn't have family or kids or grandkids that were able to get the information and get it to her. So she didn't do anything. And now the June 1 deadline was just on Sunday, right? And so she hasn't found anyone. And even if the community were trying to help or whatever, all the deadlines have passed, but potentially she's got to have her stuff either removed by the 30th or the county could give the abatement notice. You guys could clear it. And she just didn't know. So is there anything that can be done, or would they have a number to call where something like a special circumstance like that would still be someone would be able to help?
Yeah, so it's great that you brought this up. So what we've also been doing is there are some folks that have initially opted in and then opted out, and now are realizing, oh, like this opting out, doing this on my own is a lot tougher than I thought, or more expensive than I thought. And now they're trying to get back in. So really, at the end of the day, it's got to go through the county, right? So
Okay.
in those particular circumstances, what we do, we'll run into somebody, and we've run into a few folks just in that exact same situation. Um, we will talk to the county and try and get the conversation started, and
Okay.
say, and a lot of times we even help folks fill out the right of entry, because at the end of the day, we're here. We want to help people, and if we can get those rights of entry in sooner than later, we want to be able to get that fire ash debris out of the community. So again, the county has a special inclusion right of entry, and this sounds like this would fall under that type of process. And
Okay.
um,
So they would contact you all or the county and ask for a special inclusion. I'm writing this down because I know I'll talk about it later in this week more on the show, but a special inclusion right of entry. I think it's probably on the county website. I'm sure we can find that and tell people to go there. But for someone obviously that is not tech savvy or on a
yeah,
computer or something, we would just say, call this number, either Public Works or Army Corps of Engineers, and ask about the special inclusion right of entry.
yep, exactly, right.
Oh,
So I don't have the county's phone number,
mm-hmm.
and I
It's okay. If
in a few
you all know
seconds I will get you our call center number,
okay, no
and then
problem.
they have the county's number too. And at the end of the day, we're all one team. We just want to help people.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes, because we are all about service. Okay, so I'm going to go back through some of these questions. We're going to answer all these. I will try my best not to hear a question and then ask another question because that can derail. And I really want the people that are watching their questions to be brought up to you and to actually be answered. So you did talk about the one. The next one said, wondering which number the news has been providing. So we will get that, Stuggyman, soon. Soon as Dan comes back and gives the number for the Army Corps of Engineers, we will get that done. Go ahead, Jamal. I know you were putting up another one. Thank you. Marcus has, should there be a homeowner present for when the tree cutting part of the clearing process happens? I think that's option. Oh, sorry. Go on, Colonel.
That's right. I told you do my
Not
job. You already
sorry.
you know this. You said all the process is great. Yeah, but again, it's optional. Um, it's well, we're trying to kind of at the end of the day, we want to be able to remove just the hazard trees, nothing that's not hazardous. That's our goal, and we'll try and communicate with you as much as possible.
Okay, and then there was one from Stogieman that says, I'm going to do those separately, Jamal, because I want to do them in the way Tony put them. What is your opinion of how the cleanup is going in Altadena compared to other disasters that you served on and helped clean up?
Yep. So this is actually my first fire that I've ever been on. It was in Puerto Rico for Hurricane Maria. Hurricane Helene hit my state, which is like in the southwest portion of Virginia. So for me personally, this is my first fire. But this fire, we have a lot of folks out here that just came from Maui. This is going much faster. In terms of, just for awareness, the Maui fire was about 1,500 properties, parcels. In terms of size, the Altadena fire is about 6,000 total, right? So 4 times what was in Maui, and then when you include this and Palisades, we're around 12,000 total parcels. So it's much larger than was in Maui, but again, this one's going a lot quicker as well.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that, and thank you for that question, Stuggyman. So we have Tony Wong. And I'll put it up. He has it typed out as 3, but it says, hi, all. Thank you for doing this. You're welcome, Tony. Thank you for joining us this morning. He says that some of his neighbors opted out of using the Army Corps of Engineers and are going private, but they're planning on not removing foundations and retaining walls until the rebuilding process. And then he says, we got reports saying all foundations are unusable and completely damaged. If we went with the Army Corps, would you guys have seen this as necessary to be removed?
Yep. So at the end of the day, it's personal choice, right? So about the foundation, it's a block check on the right of entry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, our experience has shown that most foundations are not buildable after a fire like this. They say, after about 1100 degrees, there's the structural integrity and the strength of that concrete isn't there. And I think this fire was 1200, 1400 degrees.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, I mean, it is a personal choice of whether you want to take it out or leave it. And it's up to you and your builder about how that's going to work out for you.
Okay, that's really, really good to know. Thank you. And then the next part of his question says they are saying it's going to affect the ground and cause infrastructure issues, but the homes around the burned homes are afraid of the toxicity of these burned foundations and retaining walls. And I know that there's a lot of independent lead testing going on now, and a lot of the foundations and around that are coming back positive in the dirt, I guess, for lead and lots of toxicity. So I think that's why Tony is saying that. And even though it's an individual choice, that just brings me back. Like, would this be necessary to remove, right? With all that, because if number one, it's not structurally sound because of what you just said with the heat and the temperature, and then there's all this toxic substance as part of that foundation now. Would you all, if you get an abatement notice, well, obviously, if you get an abatement notice, you're going to go and take those foundations out, right?
It depends on how we are. Usually there's some sort of when it comes to the abatement itself, there might be some restrictions on what we can and can't take out. We don't know that yet.
Okay.
Once that happens, we'll have to figure that out.
So, as we know, there were all the homes in Altadena, right? But there were lots of townhomes with HOAs. There were apartment complexes, and in the beginning, it was just said that this was for residential properties. And then later they came out and said, oh, we have this special inclusion, like we just talked about, that apartment complexes, other commercial, buildings and condos, townhouses, things like that could fill out one of these inclusion forms, and it would be case by case. The county would review it. And if they said, yes, we want the Army Corps to remove it, that I guess then that ROE or whatever, that special inclusion ROE, comes to you all and you will remove it. I personally know of some people that this has happened to, where some of their complex burned down and some didn't. And the HOA decided, okay, all the ones that burned down, we have to opt out, or we're going to opt out. We will take up all the debris, but they left the foundations, which are now deemed no good. And then the structures that were there at first, they were like, oh, we'll just not quite gut them, but, remove the smoke damage, get them clean. Well, they recently also found out that they've got to come down because like everything is toxic, right? Not just the walls, but the insulation, everything. And so some of the homeowners now are, I guess, having to fight against their HOA, because the HOA now is like, well, we'll do that in a year, right? When it's time, like Tony said, and maybe, I don't know if Tony is from this area or this is just a scenario for him too, but they're not going to remove anything yet. And we're told something about, oh, we have to wait for the rainy season. Well, we know California doesn't really have a rainy season. We have fire season more than a rainy season. And if we had one, it just ended. So this would be, to me, the optimal time to remove the foundations, right? What would you suggest, or how would you all handle that situation if some homeowners contact you on their own and say, look, ours didn't burn down, but now they have to be taken down and we want our foundation as well, but the HOA is leaving the remaining foundations? What do we do in that type of a case? Or is there anything that you all can do to help?
Yeah. So I guess I'll back up just a step. So I think, the process for rights of entry, and especially when we start talking special inclusion, really it goes from the county to Cal OES and OES over to FEMA. FEMA makes the final determination about whether
Okay.
or not it's included in the program or not.
Got it.
And then they're the ones that essentially give the approval for us to be able to do that particular property or that type of property. When
Okay.
it comes to multifamilies, properties, so these are apartment complexes, things like that. Right now, it's the ones that were owner occupied have been included
Mhm.
in the program. So if there was, we'll just say 50 townhomes, if the owner of that facility occupied at least one of those townhomes, they've been included. If the owner did not occupy any, then it was really kind of deemed in the commercial bucket,
Mm.
and and then those were not included in the program. Um, these can be a little bit tricky, right? Because you have to get in order for this to get a complete packet,
Mhm.
you have to have the rights of entry for all of the people, so all 50 of those occupants. You have to
Okay.
have that as well as from the HOA itself. And then
Ah.
from that, you develop the scope of what is going to be done and not done. So right now, the multifamilies that we've done, we've removed all of the foundations. We haven't run into an issue where we've had any sort of contradictions where some people wanted it removed or not. Um,
Okay.
I think if we did run into that situation, we'd probably have to go back to the county and try and get some sort of arbitration or something to figure out exactly how we're going to handle that one. Usually we'll defer back to what the HOA wants as well. So,
Okay. I think some of the confusion was in the beginning, they were like, we're only doing homes, right?
yep,
And and then it came back later and said, and so I would assume that if there was an HOA and a complex, a condo or townhome or whatever complex burned down, they were like, oh, we have to do this and had debris removed. But yeah, I just wonder how that they're going to be able to navigate that now. But if they do the special inclusion, now what if they haven't done the special inclusion, but there are abatement notices that the county has put on the standing and where the foundations are, and people, board members of the HOA or other neighbors are taking those notices down?
yeah,
Will you still get that from the county, even though a notice may be down because someone took it down? You'll still get it sent over to you, and you would go and handle it.
yeah. I mean, when it all comes down to it, the abatement process is we haven't gone through that yet. So
Yeah.
I'm sure it's going to be a little complicated as we go through it. There's going to be a lot of individual circumstances.
Okay.
Uh, all we really need is that right of entry at the end of the
Okay.
day, whether it's the county that is abating it and then essentially giving it to us, or if it's from a homeowner that is uh, you know decided to jump in late. The
Right.
right of entry is really our permission slip to be able to remove debris.
Okay. And everything else would be through county, and it's basically these one-off situations, and they have to make that decision, whether it's that process, county, Cal OES. So anybody watching, if you don't know what Cal OES is, that is Governor Newsom's or the Governor's Office of Emergency Services. That's what OES stands for. So that whole process that would go from the county to Cal OES to FEMA and circle back to say, yes, include this one.
Exactly. Right. So, you know, uh, commercial properties. I'll just talk on those right now. That's one that FEMA is looking at. You know, within the next week or 2 weeks or something like that, we'll have a decision about um, which commercial properties or if any commercial properties will be included into the program. Typically private property debris removal is for residential
Mm-hmm.
homes.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there are probably some extenuating circumstances out there, and public health and safety reasons, things like that, where they may be included.
Yeah, and I would think that it makes sense for them, right? Not you, because you'll get it later, but for them to take a look at that, because if you see behind me, this was our beautiful town, and most of that is gone.
Yeah.
The trees, the businesses, these ones, right in front of us, that's like Westminster Church and St. Elizabeth. This tower over here by the Altadena Drive is Elliott Middle School. And so much of that burned and it's gone that maybe in the past it's been primarily for residential, but I don't know if they've had a whole town basically wiped out. And I know that like Paradise had that up in Sonoma, Lahaina had that. So I'm hoping based on past precedents, if they did it for them, that they will also do the same for Altadena and say, you know what, like you said, health and safety reasons or whatever. Yeah, let's go on and clear this up and get these commercial properties out of here too. Because if not, when people start to rebuild their homes, if you've got all this commercial stuff that is still standing that has not been removed, that's not good for potential toxins that, may be in the air, number one, and that's health and safety. And the fact that the mental part, this has taken an extreme toll mentally on Altadena, right? 42,000 residents, whether their home was burned down or not. This takes a toll. And if they have to drive and they've got a new home to be in and they're watching others on their street being built, but nothing commercially is being rebuilt because all of the old structures are still there, that could be really traumatic as well. So I'm hoping that the powers that be will make the right decision and do the commercial as well. I don't know if we have any other questions. Let me see, because it's 10:50. We did this pretty quickly. I told you an hour, and we started at about 5 after 5, because we were having technical difficulties. Is there anyone that has not gotten a question answered, or any of the conversation that the Colonel and I are having? Do you have a follow-up question, since we have about 10 minutes, on anything that we've discussed, or something that comes to mind that you would like the Colonel to address? If so, please put it in the chat now. I'm trying to make sure, should the homeowner be present? What is your opinion how the cleanup's going? Yeah, everything that was, we do need the number just to make sure that we can get it. And I saw Dan peeking in. He probably went and got it.
That's exactly right. So yeah, the debris call center number, this is the Corps of Engineer one. Mm-hmm. It's 213-308-8305.
8305. Okay, we'll post that in the chat as well. And I don't know if you could put it on a banner, Jamal. He's in the background doing his thing. He's amazing. Him and Brian, I always tell people that. But I can say it out again if you'd like, Jamal. You know what? I'll put it in our private chat, Jamal. And then that way you'll have it and can do what you need to with it in case you didn't get that. 5. Okay. So 213-308.
Just give me the name of it again. I mean, it's the Army Corps of Engineers.
Call center. Army Corps of Engineer call center hotline. So if anyone has any questions other than what you graciously came on here and talked about today, or any special situations or circumstances that they need questions answered, they can contact the Army Corps of Engineer hotline number at what you see on the screen, area code 213-308-8305, and get the help that you need if you have not got anything that you need to answer here. And I'm looking, 2 questions I do believe came in. What are the steps being taken? I'm sorry. Go on, Jamal. You can put that question up from Marcus.
No, that was my bad. Go ahead and put it.
Okay. What are the steps being taken for the Altadena? Oh, yes. Thank you so much, Marcus, for the golf course operations.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So the Altadena golf course, this is where we essentially process 3 types of material, right? The concrete, the vegetative, and the metal, right? And so anything that's fire ash, that still gets loaded up in the trucks, and that goes directly out to the landfill. It doesn't come to the Altadena golf course.
Okay.
So And so what we're doing over there, right, we're starting to actually, uh, we're starting to, as the amount of properties that we have decreases, we're starting to consolidate slowly our footprint uh, on the golf course itself. And in order to do that, we may need to operate a little bit at night to get some of that material out. And so I think this Wednesday night, we are going to remove some mulch, and that operation will go on at night. So we'll try and keep it as quiet as possible. But there'll be lights, and then there's you'll notice that there's going to be steam coming up as well. Uh,
Okay.
it's steam. It's not smoke. There's no fire or anything. It's just steam. Because as you move mulch piles, they heat up, and then with the fog and everything, it'll just look like steam.
It creates the steam.
So
Okay.
that you'll be able to see that kind of Wednesday night. And again, we're trying to reduce the footprint that we have at the golf course. Part of what the Corps is going to do is once we're complete with all of these operations here, we'll we have to restore the golf course.
Oh,
So that is part of what we're doing. Um,
nice.
so as we kind of reduce our footprint on the golf course, we'll start the restoration efforts on those areas as well. So
Okay.
there is a portion of the golf course right now even where it's completely maintained, right? It's just
Hmm.
the areas, the holes that we didn't need for our area, and a lot of the greens as well. Those are maintained. It's the same crew that normally maintains that golf course.
Okay.
So they're mowing the lawns and watering the grass and all that stuff. So again, we're when we're done, we're gonna make sure that we restore that.
I'm really thankful for that question, Marcus, because we have also seen, we're Altadenians, we're a member of all our Facebook pages or whatever. And we have seen that people are saying, what is this horrible smell? What are the chemicals that they're using to break down, whether it's the metal or the concrete or whatever? And that it's at night, at 1 in the morning, at different times. And they're saying smoke. So I'm glad you clarified that it's steam. And another question was, is it 24-hour, the operation over there? So if you're saying no, what time on Wednesday night will it happen? Because we can post that on our pages, on the Facebook pages, that this operation will happen Wednesday night. It's vegetation. There will be lights. There will be steam that they see, and there will be some noise. I don't know how loud it will get,
Yeah,
or
it shouldn't be very loud. It's just kind of loading the trucks, and then the trucks will go out, and it'll
okay.
happen for the majority of the night.
Okay.
Typically, the operations at the golf course go from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Okay.
We only operated at night one time, and that was last Thursday. Again,
Mm-hmm.
to reduce kind of our footprint out there and to get some of this vegetation out.
Okay.
And then if there is a smell, it's nothing. It's just when you mulch different trees, and so
Mm-hmm.
some of them, such as eucalyptus, they produce a smell. It smells kind of, just smells like a chemical, but we're not using any chemicals or anything
You're
like
not
that.
using chemicals.
No,
Okay.
none whatsoever. Mhm.
And then when it comes to the concrete, because I talked about this yesterday, they're crushing concrete to make it aggregate. My understanding is that chemicals are using that, and you can correct if not, so that we know. Okay, perfect. And I saw an article the other day that was like, oh, you were trucking it to Palmdale in the desert. And residents were upset because there was, oh, you're like, no, we're not. Um, that's good to know, because literally I spoke about this yesterday, Colonel. I was like, I read this article. They were saying that whatever was being trucked to the desert in Palmdale was kicking up dust. The trucks were kicking up dust. And so the people complained, and immediately Catherine Barger, our supervisor, was like, no more of taking it there. And the article specifically said it was the concrete that had been crushed at the Altadena golf course to make the aggregate. They put it out there because later they use it. It's broken down with chemicals, and later they use it to build roads with, right? And so, since you were shaking your head, please explain how that goes or what's happening with that. Oh, it's almost 10. Do you have to go?
I, I'm as long as you want to talk. So
Okay. Just a few more minutes.
so our concrete, one, we don't use chemicals, right? There's no chemicals at all. It's a physical process, right? So and I'll talk through this really quickly about what's going on at the golf course itself. So the big chunks of foundation is really what is the major thing that we're talking about in terms of the concrete. They'll go on the back of a dump truck. They will get essentially put into a pile, and then we'll have one of those excavators with either a hammer or a claw. We'll take these really large pieces of concrete. We'll just say 3, 6, 10 feet large pieces of concrete, and break them down into about a foot long pieces. And that whole time we're spraying water, right? Because we want to keep the dust down as much as possible for any of these operations. You'll see it even when we do debris operations. Water is the best way to mitigate dust.
Right.
So then it goes into our concrete crusher.
Okay.
And then what comes out is essentially about anywhere between 3 inches and 1 inch aggregate or rocks. And then that can be reused for all sorts of purposes. But we take that out to typically it's like Bradley Recycling, Sun Valley, or potentially even Azusa. But it's recycled, and that's part of what our contractor is required to do is any materials. So the wood chips, the steel, and the concrete, they have to take it to recycling centers in order to be reintroduced into the supply chain. And this is the type of stuff that is, this is used as road base for a lot of construction projects. This stuff is, it's just limiting the fact that we have to, otherwise you have to produce it, right? And so we're just reusing what is essentially a material that can be reused for other types of construction projects.
So how do they, and I guess it's in the recycling process, I don't know, right? If this is deemed toxic, if it has lead in it, if it has asbestos in it, because a lot of these homes were built, early the 60s, the 30s, all of that. And we know asbestos was used in the concrete, and we know that there's lead and stuff. So if this was all broken up and it was toxic, and you're taking it to the golf course and you're breaking it down there, is that what some of the people that live around there are possibly smelling? The toxin? From what's in the concrete before it goes to recycling center? No?
No. So before we do any sort of debris removal, we are testing for asbestos.
Okay.
Right. So, and then if it tests positive for asbestos, there's a special team out there that comes and they do asbestos abatements. And sometimes you'll see, some people on a property and they're all dressed, with fully suited up, and there's probably, 20, 30 plastic bags. That's what they're doing. They are abating asbestos by hand. Very difficult work, but anything that tests positive for asbestos, to include concrete, does not come to the golf course.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. I was concerned about that just because, I know that what it was doing. Now, this is one last question, but we kind of already touched on this. But he said, or Stogie Man says, given the accelerated progress with the debris removal, what is the current ETA for Army Corps' end of operations? And I know that because of the next phase, I don't know that you have one yet, but what would you say on that? A guesstimate, I would say. That's why I said, would it go through August, September?
So we're going to try, the majority of folks, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, right? Because now you're at the difficult end, right? So a lot of the easy properties we've already done, right? Now it's the tough ones that have the road access issues, or the homeowner that's, stationed overseas and can't be back and really wants to, it's all of these individual ones. So our rate of progress slow down a lot because, we talk about it every day. Now here comes the tough work of, trying to get these individual tough ones done. So it's hard for me to give an exact ETA. I could say, we'll be maybe we'll be 98% done or something like that at the end of the summer.
Okay.
It's just a guess.
Yeah.
Again, it's always that last 1 to 2% that just takes a lot of time.
So so you all will be here with us until it's completely done, whatever that looks like, meaning the residential side and with these special inclusions for the commercial or whatever. But we don't know. We just really don't. It would be a guesstimate. And I don't want you to try to do that because, again, there are different situations. There are people that couldn't do this. Now they're going to have to do the special inclusion. There will be potentially apartments, other commercial properties that will get approved with the special inclusion or whatever that final decision is. And that could be a couple months down the road. It could be to the end of the year. But whatever it is, the footprint of contractors will continue to shrink. But you will have someone here to help us fulfill the completion of it, regardless of when that is.
That's it. Exactly. So we will be here. I did want to say, look, the community in Altadena has been absolutely amazing. Like we've done disasters in all sorts of places, and I've never felt so much support and the resilience of that I have coming here. Just absolutely amazing people, and I mean, you guys have gone through a lot of tragedy, and just to see your resilience is amazing.
Thank you. We are an amazing town and our city of Pasadena, sister, brother city, whatever, but our town of Altadena is amazing. It's a very close-knit, for the most part, community. We're very diverse and we don't have a lot of, racial tensions and stuff for the most part. And I'm sure you've seen just how much unity and, like you said, resilience there is, and how we are really trying to work together to complete this process, to help bring builders in or, people that have plans, architects or whatever, and really do what we can do to get our community back up and running. And we hear the stories of, oh, it's going to take 10 years and and I personally don't think it will because of the way our community is. I know some things, it may take a little longer, but to fully come back may take 10 years, but I'd like to think we're not the same as Paradise or Lahaina because people keep comparing us and they're like, oh, well, 25,000 in Paradise and only 5,000 are back. And the way I've seen our community, no, we're going to be back sooner than, 10 years is it. And that is my hope. One person says, Marcus says, to you, Colonel, your presence on the Altadena Talks podcast is greatly appreciated. And I thank you for taking the time to speak directly with the community. Another, I think Marcus's house was cleared or parcel was cleared last week or within the last week to 10 days. Just to let you know, his family had a total of 9 homes that were burned out. The Betts family, we have the Williams who lost 4. We have the Ben family who lost 20. I know you've met several people and you've heard these stories. My family was affected with 2, my sister and my parents. And, it's just incredible how devastating this has been. But yes, to see our unity, to see our resilience, to see hopefully this beautiful site that's behind me back in the future with our trees and looking down Lake Avenue and having the beauty again in a few years, I will be very excited for. But thank you so much for coming on, speaking with us, sharing the knowledge today and giving us updated information. Dan, I see your shoulder. Lean in. Thank you for working with me. For working with me to coordinate. And look, we are on your phone, so thank you, because anybody that knows government or military, a lot of times the military blocks stuff. You cannot just log in. So they were trying to log in this morning using Google Chrome and Edge browsers, and it was locked down. And so I told Dan, I said, well, try from your phone. And he did. And first it was, I couldn't see him, so he had to log, or then I could see him, couldn't hear him, so he had to log off, log back in. And so we've been doing this off of Dan's phone. Thank you, Dan, for making this available. Thank you, Colonel Avichal, for coming on. So thankful to you all. And hopefully the community got a lot more clarity and answers to the information. And we, for everybody, will mature trees be planted? So Marcus, I don't think that's anything the Army Corps can tell you, because that's something, once you build your home back, you do your landscaping with your builder, you will have to decide whether you're going to get seedlings, mature, or whatever. If that's right, Colonel, I don't think that you have anything to do with mature trees being planted, right?
Yeah, we're that's kind of not not something that we're going to do. That's something with you
That's not
guys.
in your lane. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. I will go on and let you all drop. We have a couple of announcements that Jamal will come on and do. It's the end of our, show throughout the show. But this, I will send you all the link because this is on YouTube along with our other 99 episodes because this is a 100 episode today. So thank you again, and look forward to seeing you out in the community and seeing what you all do to complete this work for us. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate
All
it.
right. Take care. Bye bye. Whew. All righty. Jamal, I just tried to bring you in. Why is my stuff? You have to bring yourself in, Jamal, because I don't know what's happening with me doing it today.
Oh man,
Anyway,
so I'm here now. You had
I
brought
don't
me
see
in and brought
it.
me out. I know it's weird, but
Oh,
I'm
so
in.
I guess it's my system today because I was not side by side with the Colonel. He was a little window, and I tried to bring you in and out just now. I do not see you on my end. But if you see yourself up there on the screen with me, perfect. That means everybody else does. I'll look at my Facebook and let's get to these
Yeah,
announcements.
yeah, it's gonna take a minute. It's processing, trying to upload, but I thought that was very good episode. It was nice
Thank you.
that the colonel was able to come on board and answer the questions that we had, and give updates. I thought that was very good. The questions, I wish we would have had a few more, but hey, I think they were pertinent to the folks who are participating that are that really wanted the information. So thank you, Tony, for getting the colonel, and I'm really happy that he was able to come on board. That was
I
really
am
cool. Hope
too. Yeah,
love
and
to have him
hopefully,
come back.
yeah, definitely. Oh, and they will. If I, ask again, he will as it gets closer. Maybe I would like to have him come on again in July
Hmm.
because he said that the 15th is when that deadline is, or when they will start the deadline for the county to give them all the right of entries the for commercial or the special inclusion.
Hmm.
So I definitely maybe the end of July because if they get it the 15th, a couple weeks later, I can probably arrange. I'll talk to Dan again, Captain Core, and see whether or not we can get him back on so that he can give us an update again on the residential properties that have been cleared, right? All of those parcels, but then also on the commercial properties and what the update is, because again, he doesn't have the numbers today
Right.
and he has to wait for those. And even those 500 residential that haven't been cleared. So I would like
Hmm.
to see what the abasement process, turns out to be like and everything. So I think he'll come back on probably end of July, maybe right after I get back from my trip or very early August. But I will definitely make those arrangements.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think that's going to be good.
yeah, I
All the
hope so.
folks we've had on, I think, have been very cool, very knowledgeable, and provided some real good content. And it'll be wonderful to have them back just to give an update, like we've talked about before. Because this is, it's like
Absolutely.
when we did the town hall, right? Not everybody was prepared for it at the time. We've talked about that numerous times, but
Yep.
the point was to get the information out there, not just for those who were ready at the time, but to at least put a little seed in the back of people's minds so that when they got to that point, at least they kind of understood and weren't going to be as overwhelmed as if they were really trying to get that information for the first time whenever they're quote
Definitely.
unquote ready. So that's great. So,
Yeah.
all right.
So I'll
Looks
bring him
like it's
back on.
updated. Yep.
And then
Huh?
Thursday, I will confirm today with Kevin, but just as a reminder, it looks like Thursday I'll have a special guest on, Kevin Robinson, who is a 32-year retired LA County firefighter
Mhm.
and who lost two homes in Altadena. We've heard so many talk about the failures. So he's going to give his perspective, having fought plenty of fires in the past, on what the failures were, because he said that there were definitely from the county and the fire department. He's going to come on and talk about that Thursday. I think Nick from the town council will be on with me next Tuesday or Thursday. I have to confirm that with him.
Mhm.
And then that following week, which would be, wait, when is the 12th? Is that next Tuesday?
The
No,
12th is next Thursday.
next Thursday. Okay, so on June 12th, Jeff Prong, our LA County assessor, will be here with me. He will be the special guest on the Tony Talk show on Thursday, June 12th. So make sure we will promote that, but make sure that you tune in, and any questions you have about that, we will start promoting that link again tomorrow, so that the same thing, you all can go in, fill out that form so that I can send them the questions, hopefully into this week or by Monday of next week. And then he will have some that we know he needs to answer, and then we will have the conversation like this, where you can just tune in and type questions in, and the county assessor will be able to answer those for you regarding, property taxes, Prop 13, Prop 19, the 200 extra square feet, how that affects it, just all the things that are having to do with property taxes, and the assessments, and the what is that other form that's been out there? Not the right of entry, but the calamity form, and that
Oh
if
yeah,
it's approved for your lot and all that kind of stuff. So that will be Thursday, the 12th of June.
cool. Got a lot coming on or coming up, folks. So stay tuned, buckle up, hold on tight. So here we go with the announcements. I'll be right back with Tony. Actually, let me remove this banner. Sorry, guys. I always have to do this because I
Yeah, because
can't
I'm
see some of
here.
the flyers at the bottom. All right, here we go. So the disaster recovery centers, they closed on Saturday. So right now we have the Altadena Community Center that has taken the place of the disaster recovery center. This is located at 730 East Altadena Drive in Altadena, and this is open Mondays through Fridays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Again, they're only open during the week. They're closed on weekends. Okay. Now, they still have the one stop permit center located at 464 West Woodbury Road, Suite 210. This is in Altadena as well. They have walk-in hours that are only Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4:30. However, if you would like to have an appointment and set up an appointment with them, you can do that on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30, or on Saturdays from 8 a.m. to noon. You could also set up appointments with Southern California Edison, and they are only available Mondays and Wednesdays from 8 a.m. to noon. Now, to set up either of the appointments, you want to go to recovery.lacounty.gov /rebuilding /one stop permit centers. We talked about this with the colonel, or Tony did, about these deadlines. We do know that June 1st, this past Sunday, was a deadline for those who did not fill out a right of entry form, or who opted out, to get a debris removal permit and to also hire a licensed contractor. With that deadline passed, the next one is the end of this month, the 30th, whereby you have to have the debris removed from your property. Now, if this is not removed, we're just letting people know that your property may be declared a public nuisance. If indeed it's declared a public nuisance, then the county may give the authority to get it taken care of by the Army Corps, and the cost of this will then be passed on to the property owner. And if for some reason you do not pay that, they may attempt to recover their money by putting a lien on your property. So again, take care of your business. Don't let this deadline pass you and be subject to a potential lien on your property. I did want to kind of reiterate this. I know we had talked about it briefly when Supervisor Barger had actually started the self certification pilot program, but it is going on. So, excuse me. The self certification pilot program is designed to streamline plan review and help owners to rebuild faster following the Eaton and Palisades fire. So, under this program, California licensed architects and engineers can self certify that their building plans comply with LA County building codes. This should eliminate the need for a full plan check review. Now, if they're interested in participating, they have to register, and the link is there, recovery.lacounty.gov /rebuilding self certification. Now, the cool thing is, a list of those professionals that have registered to self certify are going to be available at that website, recovery.lacounty.gov/rebuilding. And only architects and engineers who register in advance will be able to self certify. So it's just good to note. Eligible product projects include the replacement of a single family home, accessory dwelling units or ADUs, and appurtenant structures that were damaged by the Palisades fire and are located in unincorporated areas of LA. So you can read a little bit more details about this, but you can get obviously more information by going to that website I had indicated before. Now, we had Colonel on today. So remember, tomorrow and every Wednesday with Miss Juicy Little has the We Out Here event at Fair Oaks Burger. You want to do it in honor of B, Tony, if you're on?
I'm here.
Maybe you want to
We
you want to
out
do. There you go. There, it just doesn't sound right unless we get that at least one
here.
time.
Right.
So this is every Wednesday from 12 to 3. Remember, there's a lot of good things that are going to be available, such as hot food and snacks, shelf-stable foods, household items, hygiene products, resource booths, and more. And you do have to prove that you're an Altadena resident, so bring that proof with your ID, such as your ID. This again is at Fair Oaks Burgers, 2560 North Fair Oaks Avenue in Altadena. And there are also requests to have sponsors, donators, or donations, as well as partners to get certain things. And if you would like to participate in any way, reach out to Miss Juicy Little at gmail.com. Again, Wednesdays at First AME Church from 12 to 3. There's a senior luncheon. First AME Church is located at 1700 North Raymond Avenue in Pasadena. There's lunch, games, fellowshipping, and much more. If you'd like to RSVP for the senior luncheon, you would send an email to msz_strong@yahoo.com, or you can call 626-673-2200. There's also the fourth annual Juneteenth celebration coming up June 19th, on actual Juneteenth at Loma Alta Park from 12 to 1:30 p.m. Part of this celebration is going to be the Altadena Oral History Project Review. There's also going to be the Ellen Garrison's Clark Scholarship Award ceremony. And if you want to participate, you do have to purchase a ticket. The tickets prior to the event are $30. And if you actually get tickets at the door, they're $35. You can either scan the QR code or you can go to altadenahistoricalsociety.org to get your ticket. Also, well, not also, but this Friday, June 6th, holding the Sacred Feminine. It's an offering designed for women from Dina to reconnect to softness, self-compassion, and embodied connection. This is going to be from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Paseo Outdoor Mall, which is located at 300 East Colorado Boulevard, Suite 151 in Pasadena. And if you want to RSVP, you want to go to bit.ly/sacred-feminine. Also, the third installment of the spring concert series at Loma Alta Park will be from 12 to 4, and it's going to feature My Band Quartet. Admission is free. And again, the address for Loma Alta Park is 3330 North Lincoln Avenue in Altadena. And if you have questions, you can reach out to the park at 626-398-5451. This is that flyer you had mentioned yesterday, Tony. So, welcome to the Youth Summer Hire Kickoff. It's going to be Tuesday, June 10th at Dollar Hyde Community Center, which is in Compton at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So, it's basically come to the youth work summer hiring kickoff. Don't miss your chance to work with local businesses, nonprofits, and LA County Department. Now, although that address and that kickoff is actually in Compton, if you scan the QR code, it does give you access to information about the whole county. So there may be some other some local availability for some jobs for the kids around here. So definitely check that out. And then we definitely are happy to hear that Fair Oaks Burger is going to have their grand reopening on June 14th. It's going to be from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Some of the folks that are going to be there in attendance is going to be the Parks and Recreation and Juicy Little Finds, who's going to bring games. The Altadena Library Van is going to be there. The Pasadena Humane Society, Hand and Paw and Love of Animals, they're going to hold an adoption for dogs displaced by the fires. There's going to be free ice cream, sliders by Fair Oaks Burger, and fresh produce. Produce by Food for Health, and there will also be art done by Noah Hayton. He's a local member of Altadena and Pasadena, and please follow him. And then lastly, My Tribe Rise has a Dina Juneteenth event, which is going to be on the 14th of June from 10:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. This is going to be located at Metropolitan Baptist Church at 2283 North Fair Oaks Avenue in Altadena. There will be joy, resilience, and celebration. So definitely come and participate in this event. So I'll remove this, bring us back, and man, what an eventful episode 100.
Oh yeah, it was episode 100.
Yeah, it's
I
hard to
think that's
hard
a
to
good
believe.
way to end season 2.
Absolutely, this is great information, and we're going to continue. Remember, tomorrow is the first episode of season 3.
Season 3.
So definitely tune in. We got some new things for you. It should be fun, and definitely participate. I know we keep asking, but feel free to come on board if you want. Share in the actual show, but definitely in addition, uh, bring those questions for when we have the guests. That's why we try to let you know in advance so you can either fill out the form when we have one, or be live with us and put those questions in, because we definitely want to get your questions answered.
And if you missed it, just go to YouTube at Altadena Talks on our YouTube channel for any of our episodes. But if there were specific things that you weren't able to hear, you logged in later or whatever with the Colonel today, go and replay the episode. It's about an hour long outside of our announcements and all of that. We got started about 10:05, 10:03 and ran till about 11:05 or so. So go and check it out. And if you have questions or want to look at any of the other episodes, there are 100 of them for you to take a look at, from things about builders to, announcements. The titles are on all of them. So go in and do that. Click, follow, share, whatever, so that we can continue to grow, because we are here for Altadena, for our community, as a service to all of us, right? And we really want to get the right people here on the podcast for the people, so that you all can get the questions that you have answered and just have the information and knowledge that is needed for you. So thank you for joining us today. I don't know why my lips are
That's
my
a new
tongue
that's a new word.
right.
You're bringing joy into joining, so that's what that is. I like that.
Thanks for
I like.
joining us today. And as we always say, I say toodles.
I
And
say
then we
peace,
say
y'all.
peace, right? Have a great, great rest of your Tuesday.
Yes.
And we'll see you back here tomorrow morning. But we are Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. We're live. So we will see you all tomorrow.
10ish.
Have a great day. Oh, 10. I say 10. Look, on the Tony Talk Show, I try to start at 10, y'all, because I'm a super prompt. And when we're behind the scenes on the other days, starting at 10 after, 15 after, I'm like, can we go live? Can we go live? Can we start? And they're like, we will. So yes, 10-ish, hopefully more like 10, but we'll see you all 10-ish time tomorrow.
You gonna take us out?
I am. Everyone
Cool.
take care. Toodles.
Peace, y'all.